My people, my people, my people, my people, my people. Welcome to another edition, another episode of Don't Forget to Flush podcast. I am super excited on this one because this one is going to be epic. And the reason why it's epic is because, first of all, we're all the way in the city of Atlanta, Georgia, to meet with a good friend of mine who this episode, at the end of it, you all will understand why I'm so excited at the beginning, because this is a guy that he's a husband, he's a father, he's a Kappa, a mentor, coach, podcaster, Kappa, entrepreneur, business leader. My all-round definition of a good guy you want in your corner. Ladies and gentlemen, please help me welcome Arthur Faison.
Thank you for that amazing introduction. It is one like no other, I can say. That's something you walk out and there should be bombs in the background going off from fire.
Fires
something happening. Yeah.
If you have somebody read it out before you walk into a room, they'll say, "Hey, welcome."
Yes.
Mr. Faison. Oh my God, welcome to the show. Welcome
Thank
to
you. Thank you. It's been too long. I've been a long time listener, which has been great, and it's great to be on now.
Thank you.
So I'm excited. This has been a long time in the making.
I know. And COVID sort of affected us because we would have been here sooner. We would have arrived at this discussion earlier. We've met several times at even events, and I'm like, man, we have to sit down with you. We have to talk about this stuff. We have to talk about certain things that I feel that you'll be in the right position to help educate the folks who listen to the show and anyone who's truly interested in the topic we're about to get into.
Definitely.
So welcome to the show.
Yes.
Once again, if you're listening, this is Don't Forget to Flush podcast. If it's your first time, this is the podcast that is all about the African Renaissance. It's all about culture, commentary, and of course, something that we love so much on the show, toilet seat conversations, because that's where all the deep thinking happens. So we're super excited because we're going to get into some deep thinking things. So, listeners will like to know, Arthur, about your philosophy. Right. And I'm going to jump right into it because anyone who's seen the title of this episode already knows that we have to go straight into it. So they would like to know your philosophy when it comes to be a man of many talents and pursuits, right? Is it something that you were raised doing or something you picked up along the way? Like, let's ask it, like, when did you know and how did you realize that you can be involved with many things all at the same time?
I have to say the moment that realization happened had to be my sophomore year of college. Because my dean of pledges, we'll go into the Kappa story for a second.
Okay.
So my dean of pledges told me I am required to have multiple organizations that I run or are a part of.
For real?
Yes. So that was the first lesson that I had known, that you can do multiple things and be great at all of them. And before that, you did things as kids. Your mindset's able to compartmentalize things, so have priority for so forth. But that was the moment. That was the moment where I realized I can multitask and command rooms and do things and make it happen and give results. Sometimes without thinking, sometimes putting a lot of effort into it.
Because I mean, folks who know you, folks who know you in person, like we do, we've seen you in multiple things, and so when we do that, there's always that whole natural, approach that you have to everything, and so I want to focus on one of those many things that you're into, right? And one of it is that, amongst other things, of course, you are, a co-creator, co-host of the acclaimed podcast, the 13th Floor podcast. You guys say where the furniture may not always be the best, but the views are amazing.
Yes.
Guys, check out the 13th Floor podcast.
Yes.
They're about to hit their 200th episode. That is coming soon. Or by the time you're listening to this, maybe it's already 200 and plus, right?
That's true.
So let's talk about that area then. How did 13th Floor podcast come about?
So 13th Floor podcast came about because there's a unique group of black men, all different types and ages and parts of their life. Some fathers, some young fathers, some old fathers. We wanted to share that. There was no other podcast out there that brought in, college graduates' black view on life. So we started that way, and it started from a small group called Fledgeology.
Okay.
And that's where it originally started. We had musicians, we had there was artists, we had professionals of the area.
So was it like a small group, like a group in the community, or?
It was five. It started off with five of us. It was myself, Carol, myself, Ian, Gary, Brett came into the process, and then we had Mike D. Then we brought in BJ, who's the educator. You probably hear him on the podcast. And we've had an alternating crew at that point in time. Everyone's still always welcome to come back on the podcast. It's you never lose your spot there. The 13th floor is always open.
It's always open.
But then we have our core now, which has been the five of us: myself, Carol, BJ, Brian, BJ, Brett, and Ian have been the last 60 or 70 shows have been that crew. It's kind of just spreading information out there, and it's always interesting because there's so many views on what we do.
And sometimes it's like you're having one conversation on the podcast, and then somebody throws in something else, like something about their grass. And they're like, excuse me, how did we veer into this grass conversation, and then we come back to it. But you see, the reason why I wanted to ask about that was because, amongst all the other things, being a corporate person, having to, your kids, being a great husband, at least from our point of view, we have to say it that way because that's what we know. That's why we're looking up to you to show us the way. We want you to show us the way and keep coaching us. But what brought you to podcasting specifically, though? Because it's interesting that if I look at everything else that you're involved in, podcasts just sort of, I'm like, so how did podcast come into the equation?
You know what? That was different for us and for myself too. It was not something that I thought about. I'm not normally a talker. Okay. And that's something that I wanted to work on. Right. I'm an action guy. I do my thing. I smile, I wave, quick conversations, but never into the long conversation aspect. And it was a challenge for me. So whenever there's a challenge, I like to step forward and grab it. No. So I wanted to market it. I wanted to grow, and I wanted to help my fellows move forward. And the way in doing that and to get it across the world was to put it on audio or video so everyone can hear it, no matter where they were in the world.
That is a good one. That is part of the reasons why we have Don't Forget to Flush as well. It's really all about trying to create that it's a personal blog now or a documentation of information that folks can rely on. So who would you say, or what has been your greatest inspiration then? Because I don't want to reveal too much about your background. But I know that you grew up in, is it Philly? Philly.
Yes.
Philly. Yeah. Yes. So talk to us about your growing up and who were your big influences. Because I'm trying to paint this picture for the audience to sort of understand why you're the guy for this convo.
And let's not hide or think that the past is shady. There's no shade in the past at all.
We're just trying to make sure that people don't take the information and go and open a new social security number. They'll say, now we've opened new bank accounts because we listened to everything he told us, every single thing. The biggest inspiration I've had from me had to come from my stepdad, Timothy Rich. He, from the age of 12 until this point in my life now, has made me the man I am because I saw the example through him. Everything he did, and he still does to this day. Very strange. We share the same birthday. So it was meant to happen. I was meant to follow in those footsteps, but he helped direct that. And there was one thing he always told me that I will never forget, and he said it one time, and it stuck in my head, is that wealth is not always quantitative. You can be wealthy through family, through life, through love, through what you do, fulfillment. It doesn't need to be quantity. You don't need to have money to be wealthy. That is very deep. It's not about the coins. And someone talked about the fact that, we listen to some of these keynote speakers and they talk about things about wealth being the community you build and the people that you impact and the lives that you change, which is very, to a large extent, it's very community based. It speaks to the African experience for someone like me who grew up on the continent. And I think you've just helped us get into a great segue to our next segment. This show is about segments.
Listen,
we flow. We're flowing right now. So this is Arthur right here. And one of the things that we really wanted to get into is in the culture commentary section, right? Which is our next segment.
Yes.
And so I wanted to use the opportunity as somebody who, now most people might not know this about you, and so might as well put it out there.
Yes.
As a man of many talents and many approaches, and you've lived in different parts of the country.
Yes.
You work a job where you travel a lot.
Love it.
You know, there are things that even if one needed to speak to you and say, hey, you are proverbially Black American, African American, you understand what the journey is like, you understand what that experience is like. Some of us don't have that. And when I mean some of us, I'm talking about those of us who grew up on the continent, who moved here as immigrants. So in this segment, I think you are well positioned to help us unpack a few things.
Yeah.
I'm Nigerian.
Yes.
I'm African, living in America.
Yes.
and
True
you
African
are-
American. That's the true
the true African American.
African-American. There you go.
Okay, very cool. Yeah, that's exactly how I feel too. So, as a Black American in that sense, or of African heritage,
Yes.
you are also married to a Nigerian.
Yes.
Right. So there's a lot of Pan-Africanness now going on
Yes.
in this conversation already.
Yes. Love my life.
So, Nigeria living in America, a Black American married to a Nigerian, and we're right here in Atlanta, Georgia, a city that I think, is all about the power of Blackness.
Oh,
and,
for sure. Yes.
So with that backdrop, then help us unpack a few things, right? Help my listeners understand, if you can help explain this. Top of my list.
Okay.
You ready?
Yes.
I think fraternities and Black culture intertwines deeply. Yeah. Now you are a Kappa.
Yes.
Now I don't want to express how much I don't know about fraternities, but as a Kappa, I know you even have your social media handle.
Yes.
That talks about you being a noob.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes. Noob 2K.
So, yeah, noob 2K. That's that's Instagram. That's the Kappa Alpha Psi fraternity. Right?
Yes.
I say men of the cane.
Yes.
Men of the cane. That's what
Yes.
I've come to learn. So what can you help us understand using this podcast right now? I feel like I have to get my community aware for real.
Yes.
Like, what can we understand about fraternity or fraternities? Things that people need to know, especially if you never grew up in this part of the world, but you know it's an experience.
How can I put a century plus into 3 minutes? Let's see.
Now people are gonna. I know how fraternities roll, because some
Yes.
other person in his own fraternity will be like, "Oh my God, he went on the he wanted to only talk to the
Yes.
Kappas or something."
Yes.
No,
No,
but
it's okay.
broadly too.
Yeah.
Broadly, just generally.
Now, good thing is that I'll speak as the National Pan-Atlantic president, because I did that. I was the president at University of Miami.
Wow.
So
Okay.
as a hurricane and as the president of the council, I'll speak on behalf of the overarching. I won't go into the big details because there are small things between each organization.
Yeah.
But the difference between, or what the fraternities are about, it's brotherhood. So we'll start there. It's about a brotherhood. It's about helping others. Community service is a big factor in it. Belief in the Lord, whomever the Lord may be, is one of the points of all fraternities and sororities.
Yeah.
So you're always going to have community, you're going to have service, you're going to have religion or belief, and then you have your brotherhood. That's your 4 points for most fraternities. They may vary and add a fifth, or may add a sixth, or so forth from there. But that's your basis.
Now, obviously, from the basis alone, you guys, now people know that it's not a gang.
It's not a gang.
It's not
And
a
you know
gang.
what? The funny people give gangs a bad rep because of where we are now and currently how it's violence gang.
Yeah.
But there are gangs that are positive. I mean, there are some gangs. Habitat of Humanity is technically a gang.
Oh, for
if
real?
you think about it. I mean,
Well,
the way the organization is run and set up,
yeah,
it's technically a gang.
it's a gang.
It's just incorporated.
That's fair.
So,
That's
so
fair. That's
I mean, you have to think about the Bloods, the Crips, and all those things, and internally inside that system, there is strong leadership in there, and I don't want
structure and
to.
family
I don't want.
and-
I don't want to play on that as if someone should go out and do that, because it's not. There's bad parts of that gang,
Yeah.
but the basis of trying to help, it started off with, we're going to do better and we're going to help each other out, and together as a unit we're going to grow. Now you choose the paths you take going on that path. So that's why in your fraternities and sororities you have the brotherhood, you have the understanding of what you're doing for it and why you're joining. It's not just, I'm in college, I'm going to party. This is a lifetime commitment you've made. You pledge your life to this to ensure that you are now, for Kappa Alpha Psi Fraternity Incorporated, you're achieving through every field of human endeavor. No matter what you do, you're going to be the best at that. But you're also going
to say that again, because I need folks to hear this. Hold on. You just say that one more time right now.
Achievement through every field of human endeavor. So no matter what you do, you're going to be the best at that. So if you're serving someone and you're volunteering, you're going to be the best volunteer at that event. Because
that's
you're
the
here.
goal of the fraternity. Beyond the 4 basic ones that you mentioned, ultimately, it inspires people. It helps brotherhood, sisterhood to fuel your accomplishments.
Yeah. The fraternities came in place because there was nothing else to do. We're all in communities, and each one has different ones. So we're in Indiana University. There are a lot in Howard. They're all around HBCUs. But when you look at Orange Canal for the Alpha, so when you think about that, it's what was there. We got together as an organization to better ourselves and better us around them. So it's for the community. It really ties back to that. So that's the major factor of it. It's to ensure that no matter what you do, when I leave this house, I get into my car, my tags on my car, I'm representing Kappa every day, all day. And that's what I have to go out there and do.
So let me ask you that then. Let's be specific. So what does Kappa mean to you?
Oh, man. Kappa means...
Because you spoke about fraternities generally.
Yes.
So Kappa specifically then.
Kappa to me means... Wow, there's so much that it means and so much pride I have for it. But to me, it means being a leader, being the leader, supporting. It means being helpful. It means being the top and not allowing anything else to bring you down. Uplifting. It's positivity, strength, fun, engagement. And of course, you got to be pretty.
That's the thing I've been trying to understand about each of the fraternities. There might be just one small quirkiness that sort of differentiates, and then there's this whole. Initially I thought it was like a slight when they say pretty.
Oh no, the pretty boys. No, that's it. We take it. Yes.
That is hilarious. But the good thing is that I think you've helped demystify one of the challenges that I feel that folks like us who come from the continent have sort of misunderstood about fraternities, right? Because there are similar mentions, let me put it that way, in my part of the world in that sense, but they don't come across from the same impressions that when we hear of the fraternities here.
Yes.
But just so that we're clear, right, this predominantly is about Black people.
Yeah. Predominantly, yes. Predominantly, historically, yes. There are multi-races in each fraternity, especially in Kappa. They're all through. And there's a chapter in Nigeria as well, too.
Wow.
Let's not forget that. We are international.
Shout out
We're
to
not
the Niger folks who they bring Domino's pizza. They bring KFC. Now they brought
we brought the Kappas. The Kappas are there. So yes,
nice. Now I'm going to try to connect with those guys. That's for sure. So let's get into more.
Yes.
You see how you're helping us unpack some of this culture commentary.
I'm an open book. I've never been a man to hide behind anything.
Hey, let's go to the next one then. So I'm not trying to split hairs here, but there is a difference, or you could say there is one if you had to describe it. But as a husband and a father, what would you say has been your understanding of the cultural difference or similarity, if there is, depending on where you lean on the conversation, appreciation of being married to a Nigerian family and vice versa, or as you've witnessed the Nigerian families interact with, because you have that unique perspective of being able to see both sides, right?
Yes.
What would you say then about similarities or differences in the way family or the approach?
I want to start off by saying I appreciate, and it's very important for all our listeners to hear this, is that you said husband, father. That's very important, because in order for the family to stay strong, you have to be a good husband first before you can be a good father.
Word.
So,
I gotta snap my.
You wrote that not even knowing that was ingrained in you. And that was awesome.
Yeah, that is my approach to things.
Yes,
because I'm like,
very important.
But good point.
Yes.
Good point.
So
we share the same sentiments as well. We already identified the similarity.
Exactly, and that's something that I think is separate. That the Nigerian community and the Pan-African community really focuses on the husband aspect, wife aspect, children behind that. Yeah. I think that's different in the American culture, because once you have children, everything you do now is for the children, and then the family and your wife and husband come after. So being able to understand that importance is what makes it strong, because the family is all bound upon that. Being American, marrying into a Nigerian family,
which is enough of
which
us.
is it is. I can tell you one thing: it is not for the faint at heart. It takes a strong will to humble yourself enough.
Ooh, so that's where we're going with that. Okay,
to follow through and ensure you're respecting the culture, respecting things that are put before you, that you must ensure of. Being able to do the proper dowry, being able to do the ibakwo, being able to do the knocking on the door. All these things are important.
You know all this stuff.
And you don't do it because it's a task. You do it because it's tradition. And that, I think, is what is important for someone to teach you. So you have to understand that you can't just jump into meeting a Nigerian woman or man, vice versa, and just thinking, okay, well, we're going to date and that's it. No. Once you start dating, you're now dating that community. You may not date mom or dad yet, but the community you're starting to date. And you're starting to understand you're going to be around. Because if the community doesn't accept you, you can't even make it to a door to see dad or mom.
So would you say that would you see any similarity to that then within the African American community?
It depends on the region you're in.
Okay.
The South is very that way. South is very family, come in, we're going to go get together, barbecues, kind of meet grandma, all that stuff's very important. I think in the North, it's more of a me moveset. So more of the cities that are there drive differently. So it's more like, okay, well, this is my boyfriend, this is how we're going to work, and that's it, mom. Take it or leave it.
Yeah.
The South has that because, it's still traditional. We still had that, you can't meet my mom or anyone until we've vetted you out properly.
Yeah. We've argued that, when we think, and maybe you can help me, even correct me if I'm wrong, but I just feel as though there are things that we do as Africans or as Nigerians that when I look at some of the things that Black Americans, in lack of a better description, but in that description, do, and I'm like, we're like the same people because we do that too. It's just maybe it's labeled a different way or maybe it's said a different way. Yeah. So would you if I had to put you on the spot and ask, is there something that you could say seems like it's the same? Like, now that you started interacting with the Nigerian family, you came out and you're like, hold on, this is exactly what we do too. This is so cool.
Yeah. What would be the same? It's a great question. So I'm trying to think now, trying to go backwards into the process behind it. Well, I guess the introduction to the family was a big deal because I brought my wife EJ to meet the family for the first time, and we all were there.
Yes.
So there wasn't like a 1, 2, 3. It was like, here, gut punch. The entire family's here. So that was that. I think the understanding of uniformity was very big. So, on weddings, when you do a wedding, everyone's in a certain traditional color, so forth. That still carries forth here. Everyone's wearing the same, if it's lapel, pin, color, whatever it may be.
Wow. Did you guys hear that? That is a good call out. Love that, because we do something that we call Ashrabi a lot, where everybody dresses in the same thing.
Yes.
And you guys do exactly the same thing.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's it. There's more similarities intertwined with that process, but there's similarities. I mean, I think that in the specifically Nigerian culture, there are things that have gotten lost over time from the American culture because it's faded. Yeah. But then again, I tell you, it's all dependent on if grandma and great grandma are still around. Because if they are still around, they carry tradition. It's when you lose those grandmas and great grandmas is when they goes away. And the power of woman. It's very important.
This is why don't forget to flush. Folks, if you're listening, don't forget to flush. Find us on social media. You got to follow us. Because, when we talked about this podcast, we said, how do we catalog information and digitize it, right? Like the stuff you're sharing right now, I hope somebody's listening to this many years from now and they're like, now I get it. Now I see why it sort of feels the same. So let me take it to the next level. Cultural commentary. Go. So if someone is saying that, I'm African American or I'm Black American, but he doesn't understand why Africans asking him to visit the continent, or others who want to move to Africa are going down. Now, as someone who, you've been dragged in those directions, you've been involved in those kind of medical missions, you've been out there. So from your perspective, what would you say to a black American in that sense, that he's hearing people telling him, hey, come to the continent, come through, like come visit, or a fellow black American who said, I'm moving to Ghana, I'm relocating?
That, I would say you have to go back. Going back, I went back when I was probably 34, let's say. And seeing the continent, coming in, seeing what everyone always tells you from America. So American TV, Black America, you see Africa as, everyone's hungry. Everything looks bad. There's no stable buildings. There's war. There's everything looks horrible. You have to see things for yourself. Coming off of the plane in Lagos, of course, it was chaos. But it wasn't chaos in the bad way. I've seen the same chaos in Cancun.
Yes.
Same chaos when I get out of Jamaica. So that chaos is there. But then you're getting on to the bus. You're going to the next airline. You're looking through. You're like, wow, there is structure here. There is wealth in here. And there's
looks
us.
the same. And
there's us.
Yes.
Everyone is us. Like the fact now you're seeing the opposite. You're like, oh, there's the one white guy over there. There's the one Asian guy over there. And it's supposed to be the opposite. So I think when you see that, and then you're coming against Nigeria, you got to go to the village. You have to understand and see how life is when the lights turn off. I think it's important because it humbles you as a person to realize that technology doesn't need to be in your life all the time, but it also lets you just be able to relax and talk and get back to the mindset of talking to people and having good conversations with people around you. And then, of course, you got to go to Star Island because that was great. That was a wonderful experience to go out there and just see that. And the one thing that got me was Uber. Uber was there. And I was like, what? Wait a minute. Hold on. There's Uber's not in some of the cities in the United States. Yet it's in Nigeria. Come on. Give it up. Come on.
Come on. You got. Did you try out the suya? You've had this.
Yes. Yeah. And all the food. Nigerian food is great.
Well, you're married to a Nigerian, so I know you've become
and
like...
my mom can cook. Man, I say my in-law, my mom. Oh, I have right now.
Shout out to mom.
Goosey soup right now in the fridge. I've been enjoying it. It's been my nightly meal for 4 days. And I'll keep eating it.
I think once you go to Nigeria, you never go back. That's what they tell you. Once you go to Nigeria, you never go back on that one. So in that context, then let me ask you a personal question. Then, if you had to imagine countries in Africa, beyond Nigeria, that you could recommend, or that maybe you're even looking forward to seeing, right? What countries come to mind?
I would like to go down to the Ivory Coast.
Okay.
I would like to go South Africa. And of course, my dream is to go to Wakanda.
That's a good one, because somebody's listening to this and saying that is a very great idea. That must exist. I don't know which one is worse: the people who think Africa is one country, or the person who says I'm going to Wakanda. Like I don't know who's worse right now.
And they end up in Uganda thinking they're there.
Exactly, right? Or Rwanda, or any of the other Uganda sounding countries, and they're like, we finally made it out here.
Where's this doesn't look like the movie. I want to go. I want to see the safari in nature. I want to do that. I want to respect what it is there. So seeing things in their current status and see it before someone destroys it, because with the climate in the world now, things are being pulled. So you have to be able to see that. And I don't want to ride an elephant, because that's not the intent. If I'm living in the wild and I'm doing things, and yes, okay, now I'm using it for transport. I want to just see them in their natural habitat, enjoy themselves, and stay out of their way.
You are African at heart, because half of the time when people come out there, someone let me not go hard, right?
We don't want to destroy tourism.
Let me not go that hard. So let me take you into our next fun segment.
Oh, okay.
We're doing all on this show because we have you, and you're able to give us practical Pan-African thoughts. That's what I call it. It's like you're showing us the Pan-African thoughts. So now this is the Dinkba and Diva session. Fortunately for you, it's just both of us. Already, because you've learned the language now. So Dinkba is Igbo for strong man, like able-bodied man, the whole nine. So on this show, people love to watch us take people and turn them into actors in a very short period of time. So we're gonna ask you the next question.
Okay.
we're going to ask you to try out an accent. And for the first time in 3 seasons, I'm going to allow you, even if you want to do an Igbo accent. Usually, I don't let anyone do the Igbo accent. But if you want to do the Igbo accent, you're good for it. We turn people into movie stars in this episode. So the next question, let me get into character, because I do the Igbo accent, but it's fine if you want to join me. Or you can pick any other one.
Okay.
But you have to answer the question in that accent.
Okay.
Ato. I bet that's how your father-in-law calls you. You be like, Ata. How are you? All right, Ata. Let me ask you this question. So you can pick any accent you want, but this is it. Because we are trying to encourage more people to be like you. What steps or pointers will you give other Black Americans or other African Americans? Because all of us are all Africans, so this thing, yeah. What steps or pointers would you give them if they said they want to have Nigerian in-laws too? And I know other Africans will be like, you did not pick any country, you're now partially the whole thing. But if they want to have a Nigerian wife, you are experienced. What pointers?
Let us see. The pointers that I would give, and you have to decide what accent this is, because
this is Philly meets Philly meets ATL meets Brooklyn meets
Shotty. So
Igbo.
we'll do little southern slang. So we'll keep it slow. We'll talk with the extra twang to the end of it. And what I would suggest for someone who's looking to fancy themselves with a young Nigerian woman,
yes,
or a strong Nigerian man, for some woman out there, I'd highly suggest that you start to visit some of the community events. You start to partner yourself with other Nigerians that you think are cool and are in your status to go in.
That's a good one.
Because we know at the end of the day, daddy or mommy is not going to allow someone to borrow toilet paper from their house for their children. So you start there.
That's a good one. I like that. Let me go back to my accent. Now you dropping nuggets and I lost my accent right there. That is a good one. You guys to attend some of the events and get into the groove of things and see how things are happening. But what would you say then is let me put you on the spot on this one.
Yeah.
What meal, if the person says, Ata, I have not eaten Nigerian food before. Which one should I start from, just so that I can really get into this thing?
The first thing that I would always recommend, safest slide in jollof rice. Jollof rice is a guarantee.
I was thinking you were going to. This proves that you understand what it is about. Jollof. The only thing left is for jollof to be on our flag.
Correct. Right. And no, it is to be Nigerian jollof. There is many jollof.
I thought you are
many jollof
thinking,
out there.
There are different people celebrating right now on this podcast. There are people celebrating and jumping. Like you said, Nigerian jollof.
It's important.
Jollof was.
It is important. It's a very, very, very delicious, delectable, that I will say.
Nice.
But after that, there's fufu, of course. And my favorite soup of all is a goosey soup, the bitter leaf. That is so good for you.
That is my go-to soups. Like,
man.
Have you had the bitter leaf when it's made with a goosey? Like when
That's how it's made. I have bitter leaf outside. I've been growing. I'm growing my own bitter leaf out there.
Wow.
Yes.
So you have turned into the
I have. Listen. When you're in, you're all in.
You're all nah, that is what you want to hear.
And I'd ask you, now that we're here and we're in Nigeria, as a southern gentleman, I'd ask you to call me by my official name, which is Ikechukwu.
Hey.
Yes, that is.
They also give you a name.
Yeah, yes, of course.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you are listening to this and you get in with a Nigerian family, you will not only become the pride and joy of the celebration, but you will collect new name and new title. And you'll be planting your own bitter leaf and eating a goosey and jollof.
Yes.
Oh my God, that was hilarious. But okay. On a serious note, though, let me even stretch this a bit, because I have the opportunity to do so. Your husband, father, you know what's going on right now. It seems like there's this world of opinions
Yes.
around relationships. And I feel as though one of the things I want to do with season 3 of this podcast is to have an opportunity to ask folks seriously and say, hey, if I'm talking with, I think more people need to hear from people involved in what is being discussed.
Yes.
Right. You know, because sometimes I'm like, all these relationship gurus, I don't know how you are the person speaking on behalf of the people that are married. I don't know how you are speaking on behalf of women. Like, you know, so I've always said, okay, if I do have someone on the show for this season, I'm going to ask a very serious question. It's going to be left field, right? So let me ask you a left field question.
Go.
Okay. What do men really want? Hold on. Let me put context. Or better still, what would you want men to know about being good husbands or fathers? Because it's one thing to say what men want, and then there's this, you know, but I want to tie it to, let's use the opportunity to say one or two things to men about being good husbands, just like we're talking about.
So,
this is a Dingba section.
This is strong, and this is very important. What men want for a strong wife or to be a strong husband, you know, is you have to listen first. You have to be humble as a man to allow yourself to be a good husband. You can't be a good husband unless you're a good person internally. You can marry, get divorced, marry, get divorced, marry, get divorced, and always say, well, it was her that was a problem. But until you can know who you are, know where you stand, how can you love and help someone else? How can you accept someone else into your body, your soul?
If you don't understand yourself.
If you don't listen to yourself. And then there's challenges. Understanding that being a good husband is also being a good problem solver. Also being a good person to say, I was wrong and I'm sorry. That's the hardest thing, I think, for men to accept.
Yes.
Is to say, I was wrong.
And sometimes I don't even know how I don't know why. I don't, a part of me is like, I think it was what we were told or what we were raised or what we saw or what society has shown us, or maybe some impression that we've sort of picked up within our own masculine or communities. But what you're just saying is very profound. You know, knowing yourself enough to know when to say that you're sorry and that you missed it and that you're wrong is such a very big deal. And I just hope that there are men on this listening right now that can pick up on this nugget.
Yes.
So let me ask you this then. Speaking of deep questions, let's get into toilet seat conversation.
Oh, hey, good job. That's all right.
You bring the segue in, we go there. Because now we've gone deep and we're dropping nuggets for husbands, you know. We're dropping nuggets. So let's ask you a deeper one then. What's the meaning of life? Okay, no. That is too deep. Okay, no. Okay, seriously. But as we're speaking about husbandhood and fatherhood in that context, right? What lessons was shared with you growing up that you've continued to use and teach others today?
The thing that I use, and I'm blessed to have 2 boys that I'm teaching how to be men over time, was just the fact that the respect and the putting forth your woman, the mother of your children, your wife. That I learned, again, back to my stepdad, Timothy Rich. He showed me that. Because growing up, you see, even now on TV or whatever it may be, you know, the disrespect that comes through for women and so forth there. But really understanding that in order for you, again, to be whole, you have to have a strong woman there. And the only way she can be strong is if you are uplifting her. Whenever she's down, whenever she's up, you're there. I'm in respect, chivalry. All that is very important, and it should never die. So people say it's dead. I say I challenge you. It's not dead. You just stop doing it. And for women who accept that, they accepted the no. Because there's men out there that will still do it and still respect them, but they aren't they're the good guys, not the bad guys. It's all a circle. You go through your bad boy phase, then you're like, oh wait, I don't think I want that anymore. Now I'm ready. And the bad guys then adjust and they become the chivalry guys again, but it may be too late. You never know. So I teach that to all my all of my friends, everyone I'm with, every time we're together in a large group community, people, Nigerian, American, you are your crowd, and everyone in my crowd treats their woman with respect, and they put them first, no matter
You have
what.
to say that again, like, because what you just described is the accountability factor, right? Being in a community or in a space where people can hold you accountable and you can help hold others accountable,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
But that's something that I feel is somewhat missing sometimes in the conversation about, okay, we as men, do we laugh along with the man in our own midst that seems to be the one who is acting, like,
Right.
we're all like, oh, we try to make excuses for the person and all that. And please say it again one more time. I'm sorry, but
No,
folks
no
have to
worries.
hear this.
Yeah, sure. And I want to say it again, but I hope I don't mess up what I said, because I said it from the heart, and that's how I speak.
Hey, tell us more. Just delve into it a bit more about the community piece.
Yes. So like you said, there are going to be single guys that are there, but we, as the married men with happy relationships, are even struggling, are the example, because you are looking in, and we are there to help each other. We are each other's counselors. We are each other's support. Married people, single people who are in a relationship, look at each other for what they should do and what they should not do.
Yeah.
And if you are there saying it's going to be okay, you'll work through this process, it's all good. Use me as example, use Carol's example, use Namo's example. Everyone has their thing they've done, and they do. You have to pull from that community to be the best you.
You guys see why I had this guy on this thing, because I'm like, I feel like, we're going to have like a fireside chat and, like be in a hall with a big stage so that folks can actually come in and listen, because it's like, this is why you should listen to this man with great wisdom. This is Arthur Faison. You all have to go out there and have fun and listen to the 13th Floor podcast.
Yes.
Where the furniture may not always be the best, but the views are amazing. And you get to listen to Arthur Faison right there as a talk. It's available everywhere, by the way, on every platform.
Every platform digitally. You can catch us everywhere. If you want to see video, we're on YouTube, the 13th Floor Podcast. Hop there, subscribe if you like it. Give us likes. You go through the process.
Even if you don't, just subscribe. Subscribe and push black business. What we got to support. So I know I'm like we're towards the end of this thing, but
we can go
is there an
forever.
opportunity that I can have this egusi soup? Because I think that's just the future of this podcast. The beauty of taping this podcast in person is
the
opportunity to enter this egusi soup that you were talking about.
Oh yes, of course.
Because my mouth started watering as well.
I could not allow you, and for those who are listening, and there is a beret ready for him. He walked in here. We had it set up. We have things from Atlanta. I have his water in case he wanted it warm or cold.
This podcasting
depending
is good,
on their preference. Some people like cold water.
This podcasting is good.
And of course, I'm going to make sure you have some egusi soup.
Shout
from
out
the famous Rose Obilo.
Hey.
Lolo. Rose Obilo.
Yes, so that's what we're going to get into. Shout out to your crew. 200 episode.
200.
That is epic. Shout out to you for all that you're doing with mentorship and coaching, and thank you so much for sharing everything that you've helped open our eyes. And we will be back. We'll be back to ask you a bit more questions.
Yes.
Would love to get into the very complicated ones about why do Black Americans feel a certain way about Africans and vice versa, because I feel that is something I want to talk about.
Yeah.
But before we go too far, we're going to jump off and we'll come back with another episode. So we're going to say bye because I can't stay on. I know you want us to start talking about it, but we can't because this egusi soup is where we need to go right now, ladies and gentlemen. All right, folks. See you on the next episode.
See you soon. Thank you for having me on.